Welcome back to the Sentinel Report, folks. Thank you very much for staying with us over the break. Folks, I've been sounding the alarm for years now about what I consider to be a really significant threat to the independence of our home schools and also even of our private schools. And this, unfortunately, has brought us into something of a conflict with people that we love and respect and consider friends and are actually allied on most issues with. We have a very special guest today who's got some personal experience with this whole issue, and his warning, I think, needs to be heard. I'm referring, of course, to Senator Brandon Shippy of Idaho. His family was one of the pioneer families. They actually came under government attack for their homeschooling. If you're watching us right now, I want you to see the news reports of the time. They actually grabbed the parents, grabbed the children because they were not sending them to government school or school as prescribed by law. So they really put their money where their mouth was. They like literally came under government attack. Brandon Shipping now represents the 9th District in the Idaho Senate, and he gave an impassioned warning recently to his colleagues about the very threat that I'm talking about. So let's roll that, and then we'll come right back with the senator.
President, Senators, this isn't about freedom. This is about money. In 1984, 6 Shippies were jailed for homeschooling their children. These were 3 of my great uncles and 3 of my great aunts. They were not asking for money. They were asking for freedom. Freedom to educate their children according to their convictions. They believed in self-reliance, self-responsibility. And they knew that what government funds, government owns. So they were not asking for money. They were asking for freedom, and they were jailed for that. Many of you know the story. My dad was very poor. My mom had 15 children, large family, 1 income. My dad was a gopher trapper. We lived in a single wide trailer house. We would drive to Boise once a year, and my parents would purchase school books, school supplies from money that my dad had earned working hard. That was the example that he set for me. What they wanted was freedom, freedom to educate their children according to their own consciences and convictions. What government funds, government owns. This is not simply...
And that goes on. It's just a beautiful warning. Senator Brandon Shippy, welcome to the program. Thank you. You are, of course, a native of Idaho. You are a small business owner. You own Shippy Sprinkler LLC. You do a lot of really important work. You've opened your home as a foster care provider, and you've just got an incredible story. So thank you very much for joining us, Senator. Really appreciate you coming on today.
No, thank you, Alex, for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So last year, or actually, maybe it might have even been earlier this year, Idaho went ahead and passed basically a major so-called school choice package where so-called homeschoolers are going to be able to get basically government money. I mean, I think it's kind of in the form of a tax credit. And you were one of the Republicans who kind of went against the grain here. Talk to us about your concerns on this. The big tech companies are doing everything in their power to make sure you don't find the information that we're putting out through LibertySentinel.org, through Liberty Sentinel Media. So I want to encourage you folks, go to our website, LibertySentinel.org, and sign up for our free newsletter today. We're not going to send you endless emails. You'll get 3, maximum maybe 4 every week. Occasionally, we'll send you an email from one of our partner organizations if you're a free subscriber. We've also got paid subscriptions for those of us who choose to support us financially. But folks, there's no reason why you should not be getting this critical information. All that you need to protect your health, your wealth, your family, your liberty, your country, all of it. We are doing the work every single day. So get over to LibertySentinel.org, LibertySentinel.org. If you go to /subscribe, you can sign up for our newsletter absolutely free. I encourage you in the strongest possible terms to do it today. Folks, we've got to have good information if we want to remain free.
Yeah, so back in February, we passed House Bill 93, which is a refundable tax credit. It's not just simply allowing you to deduct a certain amount from your taxes, but this is a refundable tax credit, meaning that even if you didn't pay anything in, you would essentially receive $5,000 per child. This program is capped currently at 50 million per year, and it's kind of on a first come first serve basis. For it's meant for kind of the lower income spectrum of families. So there's a cap on income on that. And I think it graduates a little bit as the program maybe has a little more money that hasn't been used up and so forth. Others can tap into it. But essentially, what it does is it allows any educational expenditures, whether private school, homeschool, curriculum, tools, whatever it might be, to be essentially you get a refund for this. And so many, of course, have said, "Hey, this isn't a voucher system. This is an entirely different system." But ultimately, this is the same idea. My major concern, of course, is the with many homeschoolers is that with shekels come shackles. The strings attached are the major issue. Um, but as any good conservative would agree with me, I think that we don't want taxpayer dollars being spent without accountability, and so we want accountability when our tax dollars are being spent. And yet, I hear many legislators pushing for zero accountability on some of these programs, which is just not realistic. And these accountability measures will come. This was an additional cost to the state. But some of my major concerns are not just with the money itself, but what this will do. Some of the foundational issues, and I've been very vocal about this. Some of the foundational issues that are within the public school system is very basic and systemic, and it's that when you don't have when you're not invested in something, it tends to fail. And so with government funded programs, typically doesn't produce hard work. It doesn't produce personal investment, whether from the parents or from the children. And then it produces rather than self reliability, self responsibility. It changes the culture itself at a very basic level. And one of the things that I said in that speech as well is that your first generation that receive this free money essentially appreciates it. The second generation expects it, and the third generation demands it. That is the process of entitlement, and it begins to breed into the culture itself. And right now, we have a very robust culture in Idaho, the homeschooling culture that we have here, where we have a self-reliant people, self-responsible, hardworking. They're some of the smartest, most successful people around, and yet with this program that we've now created in the state of Idaho, we won't see the immediate impact as much as the long-term impact. And so those are my major concerns there, that it'll begin to erode this beautiful culture of self-reliance and responsibility and hard work. And in a few generations, people won't even remember the hard work that was put in for fighting for this freedom, as my family members have.
Yeah, I share all of your concerns, Brandon. And it's interesting because I actually gave the keynote talk this year at Homeschool Idaho State Convention. And I can tell you the homeschoolers that I dealt with, and there was a lot of them there, they didn't want the money. They felt heartbroken and betrayed by their Republican lawmakers that despite their objections, this thing went through anyway when they all told them that they didn't want the money. And I mean, if anybody could quote unquote use the money, it'd be your family, right? 15 kids, not a lot of money. I mean, it's your parents put incredible sacrifices in so that you guys could get a good education. It's really sad. Brandon, I want to ask you, because you've dealt with a lot of your colleagues, you've seen the pressure, and we've had some of your colleagues in the state senate on this program, people that I really love and I hold in high regard, people who I respect, and they voted for this. Um, what's the climate like there? How did they get so many Republicans to vote for this? Is it just, misplaced idealism? Was there behind the scenes pressure campaign? How did that happen?
Well, there were a couple of levels here. This has been kind of a far right grassroots effort being pushed at several different levels. Um, and it has kind of become a conservative or right wing talking point in Idaho, because many or most, probably all on the left, are very opposed to school choice, but for other reasons than what I am opposed to it.
Right.
And so it's kind of an easy thing for conservatives to get behind. President Donald Trump came out and specifically endorsed this piece of legislation. This is the only piece of legislation he endorsed in Idaho, which I thought was a little bit bizarre. So I think most of them in good voted for it in good conscience, and believing this is going to help families to remove themselves from the public school system, and so that they see this as a positive step. They say, hey, there are families that are wanting to break free from the public school system, but really have no options, and this is going to provide an option for them. I've argued that this doesn't fix any of that at all. I think statistically, this hasn't really actually even created that situation. You think about, you get $5,000 tax credit per child. That doesn't do anything for two working parents who can't afford their mortgage without both of their incomes, and so they're not, one of them is not able to quit their job in order to do homeschooling, and so that leaves only private school as another option. But $5,000 a child is not enough to cover private school, and so they've still got to be somewhat independently well off. Otherwise, they're still just stuck where they're at. If even if they wanted to, this program really doesn't help them. Who it really helps financially in the short term is those who are already sending their children to private school, who are able to afford that currently. This will help relieve some of that financial burden, at least for a time, until the tuition raises up to the point because that the market will continue to support. As you know, and I know this as a business owner, that as soon as the market will support a higher price, I raise my prices, because it's not because I'm greedy, because I need to purchase better equipment, pay my employees better, and so forth. And so schools, they set their prices at not at some arbitrary level, but they set them at what the market will handle, what the market can support. And so now when you have this extra $50 million, $5,000 per child, the market's going to be able to support a higher amount. They're going to raise their prices because they're going to be able to pay their teachers more and so forth. So it really won't even relieve the financial burden very much on these private school situations. On the homeschoolers, they're spending about $1,500 per student per year, and now they have 5,000 available. So the pressures of the market, which are created by the limitation of money, that's going to go away automatically, and so that's going to create a culture of bloat, of inefficiency, of no innovation, because the pressures to keep your prices down in order to sell your products is going to go away, because now everybody's got over 3 times as much money available to purchase the same things as before. And so it really doesn't do anything besides take the existing self-reliant, self-responsible homeschoolers and private schoolers and start to create a culture of government dependence and market disruption by these government subsidies. And that's really all it accomplishes, in my opinion. I don't think it actually accomplishes anything great in the short term, and I think it has a devastating effect in the long term.
Yeah, I agree with you entirely. It's really sad to see so many other Republican states jumping on this bandwagon. Senator, we're almost out of time. I got to ask you before we go. We've only got about a minute or two left. Is it possible to reverse course here, or is the toothpaste out of the tube, and it's just going to expand from here?
It's really hard to say. I think it's possible if we can win the argument that this is a bad idea. If we can win that argument, I've been arguing with my colleagues on this. Trying to be as gentle as I can, because I know many of them are very sincere. It's going to be hard to reverse this. I know they're going to be more pushes for greater amounts. I'm sure there'll be a bill to increase that 50 million to 250 million, and increase the amount per child and so forth. This is going to be a continual battle in the state house, but I'm hopeful that we can reverse that, and actually have some real conversations surrounding this.
I sure hope so too. And we're already starting to see in other states that have passed this, the calls for regulation, for testing, for controls are picking up speed. So maybe it's not too late for disaster yet. Senator, thank you very much for joining us. Is the best place to follow you on X? You've got an excellent X account. Is that the best place to follow you?
That's probably the best place. Yes,
All
yes.
right. And how do people do that?
Well, I don't remember it off the top of my head now, but I believe it's at Senator Shippy. on my X account. But it should be
Okay.
easy enough to find me there.
Yeah, very good. I'll be able to pull it up here real quick. It's x.com/Senator Shippy. For those of you listening on radio, it's SHIPPY, Senator Shippy. Senator Shippy, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Thank you for standing firm on this really significant issue. I hope we can talk to you again soon.
Alex, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. God bless you, sir.